Hey guys, this is Brad and Mike from Dallas Geek, and today we're going to talk about the big Star Wars news. Specifically, Star Wars Episode 9. Colin Trevorrow, out. JJ Abrams is in. Again! So, what happened? Well, easy answer is creative differences, and that's actually the most accurate thing that could be said, because Colin Trevorrow, while he has done some good things cinematically already, he's also done some kind of meh performances. I think the biggest example is his most recent film, Book of Henry.
God, was that him?
That was him.
Ugh.
It had potential, but it just bombed. He also did Jurassic World, which, once again, had potential, but meh. I mean, it was gonna make money no matter what because it was a new Jurassic Park movie, but it didn't really live up to expectations. And not because expectations were high, it's because it just felt kind of flat. And so, but what other stuff has he done? You got his
Safety Not Guaranteed,
which was pretty good.
reality show back in 2004. I never saw that.
Neither did I. What else?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So
Jurassic World was his first big movie.
it
was good.
He's a decent director, but still relatively untested. And it can be pretty clearly seen that Kathleen Kennedy, being the champion within Disney for everything Star Wars, has a very specific vision about what Star Wars should be right now. And in having that, having an untested guy like Colin Trevorrow come in and attempt to throw his 2 cents in on the whole thing, it's pretty clear that he wasn't going in the right direction for her. So
and let's remember, this is pre-production.
Yeah.
Episode 9 is still, what, 3 years out minimum?
Yeah, which compare that to what happened with the Han Solo film and the getting rid of dang it.
Yeah, I can't remember their names, but the dudes that did the Lego movie, right?
Yeah, that would be
It was the guys that did 21 Jump Street too, I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, here we go. That would be Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
Yeah.
So, while they are good at what they do, they have a very different style than what has been clearly seen to be the current Disney Star Wars.
Well, when I heard the first description of the Han Solo, and I heard spaghetti western set in space.
That was also before they were brought into the director.
And that's just it. And then I heard Phil Lord and Chris Miller. I was like, the hell?
Yeah, I mean they're great directors at what they do, but that's not the style that they do. And if that's what Disney wanted, that was never going to work. So you bring in someone who's tested, who can do different dramatic styles, and could probably pull off exactly what Disney's wanting, like Ron Howard, and you have a much better connection there. Now, with this, JJ Abrams is tested. They know that they can, Kathleen Kennedy and he can work well together, and more importantly, he knows what the vision for Star Wars is and can continue to do that. I have no problem with it.
No, God, no. This makes me very happy. Not that I wasn't looking forward to Trevorrow, because I was.
Yeah, it would have been something different.
It would have been something different, but
it's also the third of the current trilogy, and so you need somebody solid that can end the first big trilogy in decades with a bang.
And I know a lot of people complain about the fact that Lost's ending was you either loved it or you hated it. Same thing with Alias.
Yeah.
But the third acts are not the weak point of JJ Abrams movies, at all.
And you also have to remember, for Lost, JJ wasn't involved in the ending.
No.
He was done by then.
Yeah, Damon Lindelof.
And Alias, I mean, yeah, he was involved, but I mean, from what I understand from the production, he became less and less involved as the series went on.
Right.
So you can't even blame the ending of Alias, if you disagreed with it, entirely on JJ.
No. More importantly, I think.
So, yeah, his movies, though, you look at his movies, and those are traditionally much more solid with beginning, middle, and end.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I know everybody likes to sit there and complain, and like, oh, he just rips off what other people did and stuff like that.
Doesn't every director? Well, most every director.
You're making too much sense, Brad. Quiet. No, it's this funny thing of, and like there's a petition to get him kicked off of episode 9, which I think is funny because these are probably the same fanboys that pissed and moaned and bitched about, oh, Force Awakens was too much like Last Hope, and it was just a retread and this and that. Well, you guys pissed and moaned, and you wanted original, and you got original with the new trilogy. How the fuck did that turn out? And that was Lucas too.
Yeah. The Godfather came in, gave you something original. Granted, they had issues. Oh, they had so many issues.
A lot of issues.
But they were, in fact, original. There was nothing about the stories of the prequels that you could say was in any kind of way retreading the original trilogy. They were 100% unique.
Well, they really weren't if you think about it. I mean,
they were in terms of story, not necessarily in terms of story structure.
No, I would even say story structure. Young, inexperienced pilot.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
Amazing
they were unique in terms of the actual story, but not unique in terms of story structure. In story structure, there were plenty of similarities between the original and the prequels. But actual story, you didn't have anything even remotely similar between the original and the prequels because you got to see a much more expanded universe. You got to see more types of plots.
I mean, I would argue Anakin Skywalker gets his hand cut off.
Jamie, well... yeah, so did Luke.
Yeah. Old Jedi Master dies in front of his young apprentice. Apprentice takes up the mantle to carry on.
Yeah, that's true. But, like I said, this plot
father figure and son figure battle.
Those are themes. Those aren't actual plot, and that's what I'm saying. The themes were the same, were similar between them, but the plot itself, wasn't.
No, yeah. In terms of like actual story layout, like it was more of like a political drama.
Yeah, and so now we're the first of these new movies. We got a retreading of the original movie, but everything that Rian Johnson, I'm blanking suddenly, Rian Johnson.
For Last Jedi?
Yeah.
Rian Johnson.
Thank you. I'm going to kick myself on that one.
Yes, Looper's amazing.
First thing that Rian Johnson has been continually reassuring everybody is this is not a retreading of Empire.
Although it's going to have a lot of these same thematical elements.
Yeah, Last Jedi is going to be unique to itself. It's going to have thematic elements similar because that's how a 3-act structure between 3 movies works. The first one is the setup. The second is the big dark turn. The third is the happy resolution, traditionally. And so that's what he said. We know what we're getting. And I'm going to put that on silent.
Super lame.
So we know that's going to be a thing, but what he's told us is going to be unique, and it's going to be new. It's going to be something special, and we can pretty much rest assured that JJ on number 9 is going to do the same thing.
My main beef that I have with fanboys at this point, and I'm going to call it
one.
My main.
Okay.
My main. No, they're whiny bitches. They really are.
Yeah. Well, as bad of an example as it is, I saw memes have a tendency to say a lot. And you had that meme about Superman Returns compared to Man of Steel.
I still argue to this day that Superman Returns was the better film.
Well, no. Where the meme comparing the two, where about what everybody hated about it. Superman Returns, everybody hated that they didn't think that he was dark enough. Man of Steel, they thought he went too dark. Superman Returns, they hated that they went after the same villain Man of Steel, they hated the fact that they went after somebody new, and just went back and forth, which the complaints ended up being exact opposites of each other, and you can see that across this especially.
But my main complaint with the fanboys at this point is after the prequel trilogy.
Sure.
And after how bad episode 1 and 2 were, and 3 was actually really damn good. Like, I really loved 3. It was nowhere near on par with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Which everybody's
but it was the best of the prequels.
Right.
Yeah.
So after building up to that point, there was no plan to keep going. Like, and so
the books did, but
the books did, the comics, all that fun stuff. But in terms of cinematically, there was no plan to keep going.
No.
So this thing that you had, that you grew up with, that you were able to bond with over your kids and everything like that, going new trilogy to old trilogy and back and forth and stuff like that, it was done. Mm-hmm. There were no plans to keep going. Lucas said he was done with it, which at that point probably a good thing because his ass went crazy.
Yeah, he bought into his own hype way too much.
Oh yes, and everybody that, and I have this argument with our friend David all the time. Lucas is the Godfather and everything like that. Yeah, but Godfathers sometimes need to be taken out back and put down, and we need to replace them because you can sit there and say he'll sit there and say without Lucas there would have been none of this and none of that. Like, no, that's true, but without Lucas there also would have been no Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
There would have been no, this is pod racing. There would have been no Hayden Christensen being an emo teeny bitch.
Yeah, but that can be said about pretty much every great director. I mean, the same thing can be said about Spielberg, too. I mean, whether you're talking about just the straight movies of, say, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And its progression up through the one that shall not be named.
Thank you.
I choose never to mention his name.
Never saw him jump in a fridge and
the original theatrical versus anniversary digital touch-up version of E.T., where they took out the guns. I mean, at some point in time,
although that did get us a great South Park episode.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, that same statement can be said about every great director that continues on with a certain property for multiple iterations.
Right, but I guess what I'm
no matter how great they were
the
first one, at some point you can always say, yeah, well, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had this. Yeah, but we also wouldn't have had this either. I mean, that happens with all of them.
Right, what I'm trying to say is that with a franchise that was so beloved that nobody knew what was going to happen, and then Disney buys it, and it's just, oh my God.
There's been a lot of shitting on it.
So much. So much. And then they bring in a guy like JJ Abrams, which, I love JJ. Like, JJ can do no wrong in my eyes. I'm sorry, but everybody was like, Alias was so bad, Lost was so bad, blah, blah, blah. Super 8 was great. Star Trek? Like, are you... I know Star Wars fans are supposed to hate Star Trek, but are you legit going to sit there and say that he didn't completely and totally revitalize a franchise that absolutely needed it, especially after the Next Generation movies ended so terribly?
Yeah, I don't know. I have to agree with you on this one that... And it started...
Of course, because I'm right.
Well, no, it started... this issue was really big, especially right after the prequels, where you had this thing that everybody loved, and for the longest time we went through the dark age of... right after the original trilogy, where we had no new media for it. We had books, we had games, but we had no movies. We had no TV shows. And everybody, all the fans were dying for something fresh, something new. And they needed it. They wanted it. They were begging for it. And the books, they held us over for years. And then we got the prequels. And then suddenly the tone shifted. And you got nothing but just shitting on the franchise. Even the good stuff.
Yep.
Like people going, oh, the books aren't that great. They're subpar writing. Oh my gosh. And the comics? Oh, why would you like the Star Wars comics anymore? They lost their luster. Oh my gosh. The movies. Fuck the movies, you know. The movies are just they're washed up. They're trite. Jar Jar Binks screwed everything up.
You're not wrong on that one.
To the point where when we were at Comic Con this year, and we or Dallas Comic Con, and we were listening to
Hamill.
Mark Hamill talk, and he was saying
which yes, we were in the same room as Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Mark Hamill and Kevin Conrad at the same time.
Huge bucket of this thing done.
But he was saying that he's had several documentaries. One in particular that got very, very big, and he refused to name, but most Star Wars fans are going to know which big documentary it was, come in and ask him to take part in it, which all sounded really interesting at first until he started looking into the questions they were asking and realized the whole purpose was to shit on George Lucas. And he's like, look, George gave me my big break. George gave us all something to hold on to, and I'm not going to say anything bad about him for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some missteps, but I have nothing personally against George, and I will never publicly say anything bad about him because I don't dislike him as a person, and I appreciate everything he did for me. So did Carrie, and so does Harrison. They all still love what George Lucas did for them, and as fans, we should still love and appreciate the fact that we have Star Wars to begin with. Yeah, there are some missteps, but any franchise that lasts almost half a century is gonna have some missteps. But that's just how it works.
Like, I always use the comparison of, you guys are nerds, so you probably don't get this sports reference. Sorry. Too assuming? Whatever. Like, there's a saying that, like, this guy or this coach or this whatever pitcher, basketball player, whatever, he got you as far as he can take you.
Yeah.
Now it's time to put somebody else in the role of being the leader, of being the guy, like the coach that's gonna do everything, or your quarterback, or your ace pitcher. They're like, that guy only got you as far as he could go. Now it's time that we bring in somebody new.
Well, best sports comparison for Lucas is, and you're gonna have to help me out here.
Of course I am.
He used to play for the Vikings. Then switched teams, had the whole penis picture.
No, Brett Favre, he played for the Packers.
Packers, then went to the Vikings. Okay.
Jets in between, yeah.
So, yeah, you got Lucas is like Favre. In his heyday, everybody loved him, said he was great, but then he kept on going past his prime because everybody still loved him and wanted to keep adoring him, and everybody's opinion started to change for him because his performance went down.
Yeah.
It's what happens with time. That's what happened with George. That's what happened with the franchise. But that doesn't mean that, unlike a person, the franchise can... Tyrion, don't hit the camera. The franchise can revitalize itself if we let it.
More importantly, I think what a lot of people lost, and I don't know
Tyrion.
Why.
Sorry about that.
Is Abrams has said many times that he loves Star Wars, he was a big fan and everything like that. So this was a guy that probably had a bad taste left in his mouth after the prequel trilogy.
And he said he did, and wanted to correct that.
That loved something so much that he got the opportunity to right the ship, as he sees, as I see, as a lot of people see, and did it in a way that was very similar to the original trilogy because that's what he grew up that's what he grew up loving.
Yeah.
That was Star Wars to him.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you go back to that formula?
I don't know. But since we are running out of time,
we might as well do a part 2 sometime soon on this.
Yeah, because there's still plenty more to discuss.
But no, JJ back in is a good thing. Losing Trevorrow sucked. But at this point, I trust Abrams on just about anything that he's given.
Yeah. So, with that, it's Brad and Mike from Dallas Geek. See ya.